Well, that worked.
Hello, Scotty, you're having phone issues.
Wait. I have a bunch of windows on top. Are they late or am I having phone? Yeah. We were a few
We're on time.
seconds late-ish. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We
Not
started
that
at
late.
5, so yeah.
Yeah, really.
No, there are phone issues though, because like the whole state of Wisconsin has no Verizon.
Yeah, heard about that.
Yeah. Because my brother-in-law, so he's an environmental engineer and he consults in a lot of tribes on tribal lands. And so like he's in northern Wisconsin right now and he has no map and he's in a rental car and it's really hard to find things there without a phone. So hopefully he's okay. My sister was texting me because she could text on Wi-Fi. She's like, my phone won't work. I don't know why. So hopefully Andrew's okay.
Yeah. So, today we should also, instead of being in 720p, we should be in glorious 1080p because StreamYard has introduced their new structured plans where they're like, hey, thank you for being a customer for 3 years. We're going to double your price.
Oh.
So they just started that.
I mean, but you had 1080p, so like you can see my face really, really good.
I think if you're on a phone, I don't think it makes a lick of difference.
I'm not on a phone. I have a pretty nice camera.
I mean, people watching from a phone.
Oh yeah, so there you go. My face.
Or watching from their TV like 10, 15 feet away also probably doesn't make a difference.
My face isn't that great. This is sorry.
If you zoom in, maybe you can see the bags under my eyes and the red eyeliner from like the worst allergies. I hate fall allergies so much.
You know, this has been a great year for fall allergies for me because it has been so dry in Indiana that one Claritin has totally kept it at bay. So, yeah, I mean, usually this is a hard time of the year for me, the fall. So this year is not bad.
I've been taking Allegra and it ain't doing nothing. So the switch.
You should try Zyrtec. Zyrtec is a little more, I think it's at least the doctor told me it was a little more effective. And it's still over the counter and cheap. So you should give it a shot. I'll give you some of the Clash.
Cool.
You can try it. Yeah.
I bet my allergies will be fine at the Clash. Just changing.
Well, it's a different region. Like mine are really bad in Wisconsin for some reason. When I lived there,
they were pretty bad when you came down here too, right?
Yeah, I had trouble when I was down there, and that was in the winter. So, yeah, I don't know. But whatever we have up here, as soon as we have a hard frost, I'm good. But it's been hot up here. Like it's still 75 degrees. It was like 90 degrees, which is 20 degrees hotter than it should be.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been hot and dry.
A nice cool 88 right now.
Yeah, it's been hot and dry up here. Well, adding to kill my valves.
Mike, have you been on Facebook again?
The first part of that is true, Mike. You do need help.
All the help.
You need all the help. You need help. I don't know if we can give it to you, but you do need help. I guess we can answer the question seriously. Will adding CO2 kill your valves? No, it will, but it might kill you because your valves will be so happy that they will grow so fast you won't be able to keep up and they'll drive you crazy.
So yeah, the answer is obvious. What's less obvious is where the hell do people get this kind of stuff from?
I don't know. I
want to know the origins of certain myths.
I feel like some of it's a failure of our schools. Like, don't people learn photosynthesis in high school?
They do, but then for some reason, when you start dunking plants underwater, everyone thinks it turns into more like voodoo.
Well, it's magic. There's a disconnect between the stuff that people know growing a garden and growing a tank.
Yeah.
You know, in a lot of ways, it's not that different. You don't have to worry about watering your tank. That's a difference, but
I mean, if you expose your valves to the air, like just take them out of the water, they don't like that too much.
No, because they are obligate aquatics.
And there's a lot of
Yeah,
CO2.
there are not many obligate aquatics.
Therefore, CO2 kills valves. There we go.
There you go.
Clip
So
that.
I want to back up a bit. So
Hmm.
LS Aquatics, I don't know you, but you said you're from Indiana. I'm in Fort Wayne.
Oh,
Where are you?
a new name.
Yeah,
Welcome.
welcome. What part of Indiana are you in? So
Aqua Escape says my valve grew through my sponge filter with CO2. So that's a danger of valves and CO2. Yeah, it goes everywhere. It goes where there is absolutely no light for some reason.
And that is one plant. It doesn't matter how high your KH is. You can grow it. I mean, because when I lived in Iowa and I had KH of 22, which is
it's what they call a bicarbonate user.
Yeah, it's but that will grow just fine, and it grows even faster with CO2, even faster, to the point where it's obnoxious. Yeah. But a lot of people really love the look of a tank completely swallowed up by Val. You know,
I mean, that's a really ideal if you want to colony breed something like Corydorus. Yeah, totally. Val Jungle is great.
Totally, and it's, you know, it's its own aesthetic. And if you CO2 will get you there fast. So yeah. So Salem, Indiana. Do I know where that is? Let me look it up. I've only lived in Indiana for I think like 9 years.
I've lived in Louisiana my entire life, and someone mentioned some podunk town in Louisiana I've never heard of. There's so many of them, and we have 64 parishes, and then we have all these little random towns of like 4 people. Yeah. But also, the Fishfam Link 8-ball has declared that CO2 will kill valves, or most likely will kill valves. It's not totally sure.
Okay. So Salem, Indiana is pretty far from me. That's down by Louisville, Kentucky. So that's in southern Indiana. It's pretty far from me. It's 3.5 hours. So we are on different ends of the state, but welcome.
Indeed. What's your water like on that end of the state?
Yeah, I think it's a little harder. I know that's what I've heard. You guys have a little water. Up here, we're KH6 and GH6. But I know in Indianapolis, it's harder. So not sure what you guys have down there.
So I guess my water teeters between KH7 and 6. Because I tested it a few weeks ago. It was 6. Tested it today because I was trying to figure out my CO2 levels in this 15-gallon, which it's about 35 ppm, by the way. And now my KH is 7. I don't understand. Maybe it's like really close to 7, and it could be that sometimes I do water changes after there's been some evaporation, and so
mine is like pretty consistent out of the tap, so that's nice. My water doesn't really change throughout the year, which is nice. Yeah. So Ellis Aquatic says Salem isn't much to get impressed about. It's 8.2 pH, 10 GH, and 6 KH. Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not bad. I mean, the higher GH, I mean, that's annoying for other reasons, but nothing to do with fish. I mean,
it's annoying for your sinks and tubs.
Sure, yeah, lime scale and stuff like that. But 6 KH, that's what I've got. It's not bad. You can grow a lot with 6 KH. So, yeah, that's not bad. Not too bad.
You can't grow Tonina. Sorry. You can't grow inexplicably ugly but demanding plant.
Yeah. There are things.
I do like Ariel Collins though.
Can't grow.
Kind of wish I could grow more of those.
I can grow the feather duster one. That does really well, which I'm going to bring you some of that Stephen Myrtle's feather duster that he gave me. I'm going to divide it, and it does pretty well in my water. I do think you need CO2, so because Stephen will propagate it and he'll get it to other people, but think you need CO2 for it. I really do. But average water. So, and I would not call it hard. It's not fast. It's not a fast grower. So
I've been trying to get that that Aponigeton Robinsonite. I don't know if it can self-pollinate. It is growing it's like the double flower like that. It's been popping one out like every week. And
so some plants won't self-pollinate. They have a gene called the S gene, I think it is. And it's the self-pollination resistance gene. It's pretty common throughout vascular plants. And I don't know if they have it or not. I don't know. Or maybe some of them have it and some of them don't. So, and what it is, it's an evolutionary sort of
bullshit.
Evolved to force things to outcross instead of self, which is an advantage.
The anti-plant incest
more
gene.
Diversity. Yeah, you get more diversity. The thing against it is like if times are really bad, well, being able to self-fertilize is pretty great because you don't need to find a partner. I mean, dating sucks. It's not great. Yeah. So, I mean, and the other thing is hand pollinating it may not work that well. You might need a pollinator. I don't know. I mean, those flowers are not exactly complicated. So,
yeah,
you would think just a paintbrush or a Q-tip would be sufficient, but you know, sometimes it's hard.
Well, I will keep trying while it's still sending me flowers, and it'll probably it'll take a break in the winter time, and then it'll come back.
Yeah,
like it's been pretty good, and I'm not moving it, just leaving it where it is.
Yeah, and I've had Aponigeton's flower before, but I've never even tried to.
And my Aponigeton crispus is like sending out those like 6-inch flowers. There's like 3 of them right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they're kind of pretty. I think they're pretty good. So Zenny is holding back from making a self-pollination joke. Don't hold back. Like,
just a little bit of self-love.
Just don't hold back. So Alice Aquatic says, I have 17 tanks currently building my garage to hold all of them. Ooh. And I got a free ICB tote to collect that fresh rainwater. Way to go. Wow, that's awesome. That's cool.
Let's see. Aquascapes set up a tank with RO water and tannins. No, there's very few plants I can use, but any ideas would be helpful. All my other tanks are on the other side of the spectrum. Just stuff that can tolerate very limited light.
Yeah, I mean, and if you turn up your lights high enough, it doesn't matter. I mean, like if you have like a Chihiros light, like Steven and I do, they're pretty intense. You could turn them up really, really high and you'd still get things to grow.
Plus, some plants RO water 0 kH.
I mean, they're going to be really happy with that. It just, you may need to add more light. Yeah. You also may need to like cut down on your tannins a little bit. You'll still get that tannic look, and it'll still be a tannic environment for your fish, but maybe you cut the tannins in half. Maybe you'll have to play with it a little. But I would say just try things. I would say try some easy stems, see how it goes. Try some, just try some things. I mean, with KH that low, like.
So helps. Speaking of low light, so when we had that stream with Tom Barr, he was mentioning how low light CO2 go together really well. Yeah. And I never even like thought about it that way, but I have a couple of tanks that are CO2 injected. I turned down my lights on those mostly because I have a bunch of boosts in there, and I didn't really want to do super high maintenance on it, but keep the algae under control. And I just kind of ignore them. I do water changes, but I don't do a whole lot with them. And I just decided to take some photos of them recently, just because, yeah, they actually are doing well, and I'm without very much intervention at all. Like I fertilize when I think about it, maybe once a week, once every two
Well, when you
weeks. But
have the light that low, you
mhm.
really don't need much. You know,
Right. I mean,
if
it's
you have
like
some
having
in there.
it's like having low tech, even though I guess CO2 is tech, but
Yeah,
it's a low energy tank.
right.
You're giving the plants the base nutrient it needs, carbon, and then you're just kind of letting it do its thing.
But all tanks will do better with CO2. I mean, if you have a dirted tank that you think is growing amazing and you think that like the substrate is producing all of this CO2 and the plants couldn't get any better, I would invite you to put CO2 on it and see the difference.
Yep.
Well,
So
that's a
this
jungle, Steven.
well, I like jungles, so you know, like jungles, screw you.
That's right. Screw
But
you.
I mean, there's
We're gonna
a
clear cut that baby because it's you need to. We're selling
what?
plants.
Oh, well, this is a tiny tank. This is a
Oh,
7
okay.
gallon. Yeah, so it's a bunch of boosts in the center, and then there's crypts on the sides. There's some
Nice.
Java fern in the back, and there's couple of sprigs of alternate thera, and then of course I just let the tripartite in the back do its
Do
thing.
what it does. Which, by the
Yep.
way, Candy just mentions that Bucephalandra does well in her heavy tannin tank, and that makes sense because Boost does not like a ton of blasting light. So it doesn't mind any sort of filtering that the tannins would do. So good tip, Candy. Thanks for that. I have never put tannins in any of my tanks, so I don't have any personal experience with it.
Oh, Candy has a boost problem too. I wonder how much of a problem hers is
And her
compared
problem
to.
also is because she lives in Seattle, like she has access to all the kinds of everything. And people are just like, here, have some of this candy and some of this and some of this. And yeah, it's hard to keep them straight.
Mhm. Yeah, I know Tom Barr was talking about how jungles are not his goal, and I'm just like, oh, like my jungles.
Oh, well, you know what? You should do what makes you happy. Jungles are not my goal, which you wouldn't think looking at these tanks behind me. Jesus Christ.
Well, I
But
mean, this
I
this
am
it's
clear cutting them tomorrow because I am bringing plants to sell at the Clash to
I
benefit
still know what's in here.
Fishfam.link.
Like I've deliberately planted things and put them in
Yeah.
places. They just, I'm not like keeping it well manicured, perfect, or anything like that. Um, and then this one is just the bowl. It's growing. I mean, it's getting. I don't know. Eventually, maybe I'll have to start trimming back the boost, but maybe not because I
Well,
don't want
boost
to.
grows so slow that
Yeah,
that's a tomorrow problem.
exactly. Or like a next month or a few months. I don't know. But yeah, these
Well,
are a couple of
what?
low light with
Yeah.
good amount of CO2
Yeah.
and not a lot of fertilization needed for these.
Doesn't need a whole lot. And Boost is a slow grower, so it doesn't
Hmm.
need the amount of fertilization that a tank full of stems does, or a tank full of immersed plants, which, geez, they really chew through fertilizer. So June mentioned up above that she moved her Aponigeton and it died, and I wonder
Mm.
if it will come back because as long as the bulb didn't rot and get squishy, it might come back. It probably might have just gone dormant because I have noticed mine will go dormant, especially in our case, with the heat. My house gets pretty hot. In the summer, my house is realistically not below 75 degrees, so it'll die back. And sometimes my house will be like, 85 or 90, so it'll die back. But you know, it it could come back. It could come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. especially Madagascar lace, kind of dies back seasonally for a lot of people. I've noticed. I have never. Well, have I grown that plant? No, I've grown it, but it's been a long time. But it tends to grow back, or tends to die back.
Now, if you want to see a tank where I've been like doing the double dose of Easy Green per day, and I'll be doing some harvesting from it. There's a little bit of algae at the base of the glass, but like I've been mostly focusing on making the plants go crazy. So
yeah, time to clear cut. Look at those big old kamakas.
I know. They're like the perfect fish for this tank too.
Love mine. I love mine so much that I got from Foxanne. They're so pretty. Is she still selling those? I think she might be. Mods, could you guys drop a link to Foxy and Peplin? If you want really great fish, they have rainbows, they have nano fish, they have axolotls. Get them now while the weather is safe for shipping. They're good fish. But yeah, those kamakas, they sure are pretty. Males and females are attractive. Not the case in every rainbow.
Right.
That's really good.
I mean, so this is like that's a female right there. And
yeah,
they get fired up.
They look a little different, the females, but they're still colorful. They're still
and they got that, and the males got already getting that lovely body shape that Zen likes.
I love that. I want all my rainbows to get that, because that means they're chunky and happy.
And then I'll probably bring some little tufts of Blixa japonica, because this is getting a little out of hand. I'll remove the dead leaves from it first. That's been caught up in it.
I have some Blixa that's getting out of control too, so I might bring some also. I'm not sure what I'm bringing yet. I am definitely bringing some Pogostem and Dasein, which was from Myrtle, so some people can get some of that. And lot of crypts, and a lot. I'm going to bring a clump like this big of Monte Carlo. I don't know if I'm going to divide it up or not. Maybe I'll just let someone buy the whole thing.
Up to you. I mean, we're going to have a good assortment of stuff on the table. I mean, I'll bring an assortment of weed stuff that I know that the fish breeders like. And I'll bring a few things that need CO2, and I'll tell people it needs CO2. And
I'll write on
buy it anyway. And
I'll write on the bag if I think it needs CO2. But not, I mean, like a lot of things I'll buy, anyone can grow crypts. I mean, anyone can grow those. So LSA Aquatic says that they currently have a Ponegeton Alaceus flowering.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. What color is your flower? Mine was white, but I know that they can come in different colors, like purple, and it's impossible to know what you'll get. So.
Does it depend on light at all? Because the flowers I had were like coming up right below the weak aqua. I'm just wondering if it's burning the leaves.
No, it's just a genotype thing. It's kind of like some people have blue eyes and some people have brown eyes. It's just a genotypic thing. So the flowers do have different colors, and you can't say what you'll get until you see them. So
Henry wanted to know, is it possible to run CO2 on multiple tanks on one?
There is. Let me take you on a tour. I'll show you what mine looks like.
I've got 3 on one canister and then 2 on another canister.
Oh. Let's see if the cord will reach. Okay.
There we go.
I don't know if you guys can see that, but I have a manifold. And so I'm driving 2 tanks with 1 regulator. You can put, I've heard of people doing 4. I think at a certain point it gets a little unwieldy.
Yeah, I think I'm at 3, and I think 3 is fine. And I don't need to go higher than that, because then I just have to keep refilling CO2 canisters too much. So
yeah, and you need a regulator that you can put a manifold on. Not every regulator you can. So when you purchase your regulator, make sure you can do that. So mine is from GLA, which is a place I recommend, Greenleaf Aqua. And what I did is I I emailed them and I said, I want to do this. So
yeah.
they set
So
it
for
up for me.
example, the CO2 art one that is usually 150, frequently will go on sale for like 120, 125. That one you cannot expand. It's single manifold only. The SR Aquaristic that I have, that's 200-ish. Those are expandable. Up to 8. I don't think I would do 8. That's a lot. But
Honestly,
it's handling 3
I
really
don't think
well.
I'd do more than 4.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's the most you do?
3.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't go above 4 personally, but I've never heard of anyone going above 4. But
I'm sure there's someone who's tried. I mean, I wouldn't. I like that regulator, and I think it probably could handle 4 or even 5 easily. That the needle valve is like the best needle valve I have. Not that I don't have a frame of reference for anything more expensive, but so far the way it's scaled is as I spend more money on a regulator, the needle valve has been better. So
faux show. I mean, I've had cheap regulators, and this is why I always tell people don't buy a cheap regulator, and you will regret it. I have a GLA one, so Greenleaf aquariums. They are very expensive, but they are rock steady. They're easy to set up. They're easy to dial in. They do not drift. They do not dump. They're worth the money. And I have 2 on there. I would
yeah,
have no qualms putting more on that. But the other thing is you got to think about like the layout of your room. You know, is it convenient for you to have a CO2 line strung between
can
2
you get
tanks?
like a 50-pound CO2 cylinder, put it in your attic or your basement, and just run lines to all of
Well,
your tanks?
I've seen Gary Lang in his videos. He's got like I think he's like 100-pound cylinder, something huge that he
Ooh.
got from a lab that he
That would
worked
be
in.
awesome, except when that day comes in 5 years when you gotta refill it.
Well, yeah, because you got to carry it. Like, so you've
Mhm.
got it. Well, you would have to move it on I mean,
Hand truck.
I worked in labs. Yeah, you have a hand truck to move it, and I mean, I always had 100-pound tanks of whatever gas I was working with in the lab. So,
Yes, June. Yes.
June, why not? Just try it. I think you.
Convert everyone one tank at a time, one person at a time.
I think you'd have a blast doing it. Just try it on one tank. See what you think.
The biggest barrier to CO2 is the cost. And then once you've sunk the cost into it and you dial it in and you see the aquatic gardens that you get from it, I guess the other sunk cost is now you got to buy more fertilizer. So yeah, we're going through buckets of Easy Green.
But yeah, that's I don't know.
Candy, any release date on that IBC tote of Easy Green? Whatever bulk amount that is being
Yeah.
developed.
I do use a lot of Easy Green, but if you're on a budget, you can also use
Mm.
dry fertilizers. It's a great way to
Yeah,
spend
if you got the
money.
discipline, for sure.
Right. I just don't because I'm lazy and Easy Green works, so I use it. But dry fertilizers, all you need to use are measuring spoons into little containers. It's not hard, but
Yep, I was really good about that for about 2 weeks.
you can dose them right into the tank.
Yeah.
And it works great. And Easy Green works, it's no better or worse. It's just easy. Just when I feed the fish, I just squirt it in and I don't have to think about it. So, depends what you want to do, but it's a way to save money. So, all right, Rachel, boots, cats, boots, cats, boots, cats, boots, cats. Not as good as Eric. Seeing the mermaid weed on What the Fish made me want some. I bought some at Fishtoberfest yesterday. How do I keep it alive? That one will grow without CO2, but it's not super pretty without it. If you
Yeah,
give it
because it
lots
needs
of
high
light,
light.
yeah, it needs a lot of light and a lot of CO2 to look really good and it'll get reddish and look really pretty. So it's Proserpinaca palustris is the scientific name in case you were wondering. Rachel, I don't know what your water's like. You might be able to get away with a lot if you have low KH, but you will
She's
still
in the
need more light.
PNW, so maybe.
Oh yeah, that's true. So you might be able to get away with it. Um, it does need quite a bit of light to look really pretty. And yeah, you might be able to get away with it.
So Rebecca says, aren't regulators what you should spend the money on from a safety and longevity aspect? Yep, that's by far the biggest expense.
Faux show. I mean, and the thing is it's a one-time expense. A good regulator, I mean, gosh, you could get probably at least a decade out of it. Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And mine has been trouble-free for 4 years. The only trouble I've had with it is Jake knocked it over and snapped the bubble counters off. And I
I
replaced
knocked
these and it was
mine
fine.
over and snapped the bubble counter too. Yeah. So
I mean, you know, but what do you do? It's fine. But yeah, they're trouble free. So it is worth spending the money. Get something good. Don't get a starter regulator unless your fish are starter fish. You know, like don't risk your
or
fish.
you don't have fish at all, I guess.
Oh, well, yeah, then whatever. But it's still like it's a pain in the ass to dial in
It
and keep
is.
steady. So I think it's worth getting something good for peace of mind and for efficacy. And you buy it once and you're done.
Yeah, the needle valves are important. Like they're like even the CO2 art needle valve is okay. It doesn't drift, but it is one of those where it's like you just kind of slightly move it and now it's a million bubbles a second. So you kind of have to use the pressure to dial it in as well. But it doesn't change. Whereas like the SR Aquaristics, I can dial that thing into like one bubble every 5 seconds and it won't change, or up to, the bajillion bubbles a second.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So Andy Carson has kind of a weird question. So
Ooh, a weird
Andy says,
question.
I have a volunteer weed tree that Google thinks is a mulberry. Are all mulberry tree leaves safe for ticks? The leaves look different than the mulberry leaves I got from KJE. So the cool thing about mulberry leaves is not all the leaves look the same. So if you look at a mature mulberry tree, you will see morphologically that as the tree matures, the leaves look very, very different. So they'll have like different lobing. I mean, they just look really different. So I don't know the exact species that KJE uses. There may be other species of mulberry. I doubt it. But I will say that the mulberry trees that are weeds in the United States, that are very common weeds, that you can eat the berries from them, they are not toxic for humans. So I assume they'd be okay for your tank. I can't guarantee it. I've never tried it. I don't put leaves in my tanks. It's not my jam. I don't do it. But I would feel safe drinking tea from it myself. Let's put it that way. But it might be the same. His leaves might just be different shaped because mulberries they're weird that way. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts.
I
Like
have
I said,
zero thoughts about that.
I've I don't use botanicals in my tanks. It's just not my jam, you know. So I haven't used KJE's mulberry leaves. I haven't seen them before, so I can't say. So, and
So
Rebecca points out that Monstera is a really good example for change as the plant ages in the environment. Yeah, a lot of that is when some plants, when they become sexually mature, they have a real morphological change. So, like a common one is a lot of oak trees. So, red oaks, they don't drop their leaves in the fall. You may not know this, Stephen, as a southerner, but we lose our leaves up here every winter.
I
But
mean, we do lose leaves. They don't really turn any color. They just
yeah, up here they do though. But red oaks, so they're the ones with the pointier leaves, they don't lose their leaves until they become sexually mature and able to make acorns. So, and there are other changes too. So, like with corn, if you plant that, the first leaves that grow are like waxy. And then there's a developmental change that's genetic in the plant. As it becomes sexually mature, the leaves are hairy. So that it's different. So and
Oh boy.
Monstera does that too. A lot of them do. But mulberry, it's not, I don't think it's a sexual maturation. I mean, throughout the plant's life, they just have weird leaves. So Rachel asks, how will adding CO2 affect algae growth? Usually it decreases it because it makes your plants healthier. Now, can I
Yeah.
guarantee that? No, because I don't know why you're getting algae.
Yeah.
Because
You got to
nobody,
balance it because like algae uses CO2 as well. So like if your plants are sad, then algae is like, I'll take over. So
yeah. So I can't say why you have algae. And you can have a CO2 free tank that has no algae. But in general, most people find that their algae decreases with CO2.
right.
I
Because
can't
it
guarantee
yeah,
it though. It could get
it
worse.
is definitely a balance issue,
Yeah.
for sure. And I feel like when you inject CO2, even if you inject CO2 when you have high KH, you do tend to have more algae problems regardless because the algae can use not just CO2, it can also use carbonate. And you have plants that are just kind of inherently struggling in that
Yeah.
environment. So the
Yeah.
balancing act becomes more difficult.
I mean, especially if you're trying to grow plants that just are kind of at the margins for your
Right.
KH. Um, you know. But I think Rachel, I don't know what your KH is, but I think it's probably pretty low in the Pacific Northwest. So
I mean, there's also algae that kind of is associated with what they call hot tanks that are like high nutrients, high CO2, that green dust.
sure,
Yeah, Rachel, if you
sure.
haven't yet, you might want to listen to the stream that we did with Tom Barr, or like the edited down version I did. It's only an hour long, and he talks about some of the algae and the causes or the myths behind the causes of them, and yeah, just kind of the whole principle of that.
Yeah. But I would say that every planted tank is made better with CO2. Even if
Yeah,
you go through a period of algae, you get that balanced out, you get that taken care of. Every planted tank is better with CO2. Now, is that in alignment for what your goals are? Well, I don't know. If you have like 100 like guppy breeding tanks, maybe you don't want to have 100 CO2 tanks. I get that. But
yeah.
if your goal is to have beautiful plants, CO2 is the way to go. So, well, Daniel, I'm
Um,
glad you liked it. So,
so June is saying, so which regulator?
I really like GLA, Greenleaf Aquariums.
Then a price step below that is the SR Aquaristics, and then
Mhm.
a price step below that is the CO2 art, and then a price step below that is nothing. Don't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. I know, June, your fish are very special to you and that you want a lot of peace of mind for your Oscars, especially. So I would just say
Yeah.
spend the money on a GLA.
Yeah, make the investment.
Just spend the money on a GLA. I mean, it's so worth it. So, and the owner of GLA, Orlando, you can email him and he will tell you what to get. So, just kind of nice. Are there any common issues to be aware of if buying a used regulator? I mean, I I mean, I've bought used regulators before and it was a shitty regulator to start with. So I was pretty miserable.
Yeah, it's probably brand dependent because someone
Yeah.
who is selling a used regulator of a high caliber brand probably knew what they were doing. And
Yeah. I
but
mean,
yeah, don't buy somebody's used F zone.
yeah, I would not do that. But if you found like a good quality regulator secondhand, maybe try running it on an empty tank for a few days, see
Yeah,
how it behaves. It's probably okay. I mean, I would do it. If I saw one that came up in auction and I needed one, I would do it. I just wouldn't put it right on like my prize winning discus tank right away.
yeah, probably not.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not for a couple days. Let's put it that way. I would, if nothing else, like set it up in a bucket or something so you can just watch it or an empty tank. So, all right. Matt M says, Steven, I totally thought the fish from Dan's giveaway were multis, so I thought you could take them. Oh, no.
I don't think that giveaway could have gone more horribly last week.
That was so funny.
Well, I forgot what it was that he was giving away, but it was some sort of horrific plant eating cichlid thing. And I appreciate like when there's guppies to give away, people will enter for me, and I'm just like, I don't want more guppies. But I always appreciate the gesture of anyone who enters.
I know. Enter for Scotty. Scotty wants all fish.
Yeah,
he wants all fish. Oh yeah, I think a lot of people were confused about that giveaway and what those fish were. So.
Vibes, thank you so much for the super chat, and he's not gonna see us at the Clash, unfortunately. So just say hi to everyone.
Sad because I didn't really get to hang out with him much last time because this is gonna be a very different Clash for me this time because I was so
you get to mingle and be social and not be cornered by a bunch of old club nerds that just want to talk whatever.
Which I don't mind talking to old club nerds. That's, I enjoy it and it's what I was there for. But I didn't get to spend any time with Dee Dee. Oh, I need to spend time with Dee Dee.
Oh, for sure.
I know.
Rebecca says, I think algae blooming is part of any change. Usually it goes away. Yeah, I mean, anytime I mess around too much with an aquarium, try to change too many things at once, something triggers of some algae, and just kind of wait it out. Grow the plants. I mean, that's kind of what Tom Barr says, like grow the plants and the algae problem sort of takes care of itself.
Yeah, I mean, with some exceptions. I mean, this tank that I need to tear down that you're not looking at because it's the ugly thing. Has never been good. It's never been good. I think that there is a real the circulation pattern is wrong.
To be fair, once it started to get like that, you haven't really tried too much to dial it back in, have you? It's just been kind of existing.
I tried and tried.
Really?
I gave up. This one just needs to be torn down. It needs to start over. But other algae, I mean, I've had algae in both of these tanks that have just kind of gone away as a season. And I mean, they've been pretty much trouble-free. I mean, I have almost no algae in either of these tanks. I have a few spots on the glass, and that's it. So, pretty good. But yeah.
Is it? Well, also, we don't do anything to our KH. So, do we have what would be called a reference tank, like where everything is just perfect and we've got the KH is low, and so there's no impedance to plant growth? I
am trained as a scientist, but that's just not what I want to do for my hobby. I don't want to have 20 tanks set up and have variables that I test with them. I just don't find that. To me, keeping tanks is more of a gardening endeavor. It's more of an artistic endeavor. It's more the joy of growing the plants and keeping the fish. I don't want to do science experiments with my tanks. That just doesn't bring me happiness.
I kind of do now. I mean, I want to keep my aquatic gardens, but I also think I might clear some rack space and do some tests. I think just for the sake of they've been done by people before. I don't think they've really been published correctly, not on modern platforms either.
Well, and the thing is, you're in a position that you can get information out to people showing the work. You have a channel that has a pretty good number of subscribers. You have the ability to make and the desire to make really good content and tell really good stories. So it's a good thing to do, And
I'm not in a hurry. Like that's the thing. Like if you play the YouTube game, then if I do these tests, I'm going to be really, really eager to like tell everyone the results and draw conclusions in 2 weeks, because you got to release a video every week. Regardless of what it's about. But I don't care about that. I've been spending months on certain videos, and I'm they'll be ready when they're ready.
I mean, you get a weekly update from us talking to you. So
yeah.
I mean, I do have desires to do scientific things with plants, but not really aquarium plants. I mean, I think if I did anything, I would like to breed dahlias if I had more room, to do genetics with them, or tomatoes, because those things are kind of fun to breed. And I'm by training a geneticist, so that would be more appealing to me. But I don't really. I just well, for one thing, I don't want racks and racks, racks and racks and racks of tanks. That's just doesn't make me happy. If I do anything, it's to have bigger tanks, fewer bigger tanks. That's what makes me happy.
That would be nice.
Yeah, it's like I'm not
My
into
problem is I want to
anything
do all of
bigger.
it. I know I don't have time, so
Yeah,
I'm still going through phases. Like
yeah,
I'm going through a little bit of like let me try all of these ridiculous weed phases and
yeah.
stem plants that have no business growing in my cage, but like I just want to see.
Well,
And
and I
then
mean, some of that I went through when I started the hobby, because I started this hobby in like, I don't know, what, 2007, 2008, maybe something like that.
mhm.
And I went through more of that. Like, I tried a lot of substrates and, I experimented with a lot of different plants. And
We all do our experimenting in college.
yeah, it's true. That's when I did my experimenting. Oh, so Candy says, I love my dahlias. Have you ever seen the new daffodahlia, Kelly? It hasn't been determined if it's stable. I'm gonna have to look that one up, Candy. That's awesome. But by the way, Candy, if you want dahlias, uh I will send you some because I will divide them. Um Probably, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to divide them right after I dig them. So in the spring, but I'll send you some because I don't want to throw them out, and if people want to grow them, I'll send you a box.
Mhm.
I've got some really cool ones. So, yeah.
Let's catch up
Dahlias are fun.
on questions because I just realized how freaking behind in chat I am, and I hate that. So Henry wants to know: is it possible to make your own CO2? I don't know if he meant CO2 or CO2 regulator.
What would you
CO2.
say if I told you Stephen and I are both making our own CO2 as we speak? All
Now,
day,
just
every
put your
day.
mouth on a ceramic diffuser and blow and see what. Yeah, I mean, and they do have those custom built regulators. I don't know the inner workings of a regulator to know what, like, how to make a good one. I can recognize a good one.
Yeah,
They have
and
those CO2 generator systems.
homemade regulator is a very good regulator if you know
Mhm.
the parts to buy. I used to know the websites where you could look all that up, like where to buy a good needle valve. That's the key. Don't just go buy a beer regulator. You need a really, really good needle valve. Spend the money on a
Mhm.
good one. And those regulators are even better than the ones that Steven and I have. They're very high quality, but I don't DIY anything. So as for other
Yeah.
things, you can do the whole yeast in a 2-liter bottle thing. I've done that before. I'll never do it again because it's a pain in the ass. You could do baking soda and citric acid. They have little generators. I'm never doing that again. Well, I never did that, but people do that. I'm not doing that because the reason people like pressurized CO2 is it steady. It works, and once you make the initial investment, it's the cheapest.
Yep. And far less likely to let it run out for like 2 weeks and or 3 weeks or just like kind of give up because like I don't have time to mix a new reaction. I mean, some people are super diligent about it and will do that. But if you're not, then what happens is your CO2 levels fall, but your nutrient levels do not, and your light levels don't. So
Yeah.
that means algae. And June has the right idea, in my opinion. My thought is to add plants until the algae disappears. I mean, starting off a planted tank, planting it like end to end with plants is
Mhm.
a great way to start it
Yeah.
off for
Yeah.
success.
Planting heavy is always a good deal. The only time I advocate people go slow is if you are not sure if your fish will eat plants or not. In which case I would not invest $500 or something like that. I would get a couple pots and see how it goes. But otherwise, planting the entire tank heavy, especially with some fast growers from the get-go, is the way to go. So
Fish that eat
Jason
plants. That's
GT,
a horrific thought.
so Jason GT says, I killed all my fish with a DIY regulator. When the tank got low, it overdosed. That's why you want to get a really good Nido valve, because you'll get something called end of tank dump.
Yeah.
And that's where it sticks open and it will dump in and kill all your fish.
So isn't it caused by like the working pressure wanting to compensate for the pressure in the tank lowering?
Something
because
like that,
at some point the tank pressure becomes lower than the working
Mm-hmm.
pressure setting that you have. And
yeah. And the thing is we are using our regulators at such a low flow rate compared to like a beer regulator or something.
yeah,
That you need that level of control. So you need a good Nido valve. And I can't tell you what a good Nido valve is because I haven't thought, well, first of all, I've never realistically, I'm going to build a regulator, but it used to be more common that people would build them back in like, 2007, 2008 or something like that. You could find websites with them and you could find where the parts were. It might be
all things fish Mike is supposed to knows, right? Like he's supposed to have
Mike
some access
knows
to
the
people.
guy who builds them. His name is like Jason Moore.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I wouldn't start going try to build my own.
I mean, which if I had to do it again, I would probably buy one of his regulators because they're the best. Like, because you can get a really great Nido valve and a lot of control. But I myself DIY nothing. It brings me no happiness. Yeah. I have no skill. I don't own a cordless drill.
What?
I know.
That was like the first tool that I bought as a homeowner was a cordless drill.
And Jake will bring his when one is needed, and he'll just leave it here for months at a time. But I don't operate it. If a cordless drill needs to be used, Jake has to operate it for me because I don't want to do that. So, all right, Dennis asks, would higher light and CO2 be good for boosts as evidenced by thicker stems and faster growth? I don't think Boost necessarily likes blasting highlight is what I've found. I think it likes a little bit more shade.
Unless it's out of the water in the sun, which is what it really wants.
Yeah, that's what it really wants. I think it likes a little bit less light, but it likes CO2. All plants like CO2. There's no plant that doesn't like CO2, but I don't think that one likes blasting light. So what you can do to work around that is maybe put it in more shaded parts of your tank. So if they're kind of shaded by stems or stuff like that, it can help. If you have only boost in a tank, you could turn the light down a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, well, there is a maximum level of CO2 that you can put into a tank. And then at that point, it's like, how much light can you give it before you start getting algae on it? It's not going to be a high amount of light. It seems to tolerate a little bit more light than say a Nubius, but also it's very carbon dependent. Like people who just have boost in a low tech tank don't start blasting your light on it, or else you're just gonna be an algae farm. But yeah, you can dial in the boost, but I err on the side of lower light because I mean, in that low light, it looks really good. Like the iridescence on the leaves is fantastic.
And with the CO2, it will get pretty thick stems and it'll look pretty good. And it's not a super fast growing plant to begin with. So I don't really target a specific nitrate. I think anywhere from 10 to, I don't know, 50, 75 ppm is fine. I don't really test my water a whole lot anymore.
Yeah, and people tend to freak out over nitrates. Like I definitely don't go with the like make it below 5. Like no, if I dip a test strip and I got 0 nitrates, I'm like, oh shit,
I gotta add some. Dosing. Yeah. I would for a planted tank. Honestly, I would never go below 10. Probably I wouldn't go below 20. Plants, they need a certain amount. So, and I think the fish are fine with like even 75. It's fine. So, and that depends on what fish you have. I have not kept every fish. I don't know. So, but at least the fish I keep, it would be fine. I don't know if I've ever had nitrates get up that high though, because I have so many
I don't think
plants.
so. Like, I
So
don't, so, okay. So I used to breed those plecos, and if I missed a water change for like 3 days, then maybe the
yeah,
nitrates would hit like 80, but
yeah,
I
and I know
didn't
the
want to,
plecos.
do that because there's so much organic waste happening in that
It's
water.
so
I don't care
gross.
what the nitrate is. I just got to get it out of there.
Well, and the plecos, like you got rid of them because at a certain point, was it in like weren't you going broke with all the wood you had to feed them?
As they get older, they start demanding all that rich mahogany, and it gets
Like Jenna's like, our lumber budget is too high, Steven.
and during COVID, the price of lumber was just outrageous.
Couldn't afford the plecos anymore.
Rebecca better be listening. She
She'd
better
better
not
be
have got distracted.
So Rebecca pointed out something about carnivorous plants and that people grow them around ponds. They do here too, but they're kind of problematic in the Midwest because our water is hard and they like really, really dilute water. So like rainwater. So you would have to water your outdoor carnivorous plants with like rainwater you collect or RO water. And so they just don't do as well. I mean, my TDS out of the tap is like I think 125 or something. And I've tried keeping sundews. I've tried growing them in my ponds and they're not happy. So, but if you have low TDS tap water naturally, or you're willing to just water them with rainwater, they do really well. I think they're beautiful. So,
See, scrolling through.
you
This
guys
is
been
a very emotionally triggering question, Jason GT. Have you guys been able to grow and maintain crypt flamingo?
I had a beautiful patch of it for 6 months, and then I'm like, oh, it would look so much better in a different part of the tank, and then I killed it.
I forgot to take photos. I've been trying to do like weekly crypt flamingo updates. I still have 3 out of 4, and the one that was looking sad is actually starting to come back. I'm just ignoring it. I'm kind of pretending like it doesn't exist. I'm not intervening. I don't have high hopes for it. I'm not going to be too sad when it dies, but it's more of an experiment. Like, let's try it in different scenarios right now and see which one prevails for how long.
If I were to give any recommendation to anyone with this, I would not put it in a brand new tank that is going through growing pains and has algae outbreaks. Because in my experience, once it gets like hair algae, it is game over. It is game over. Though Zenny, I don't know, hers is growing fine, but she's willing to yell at her plants more than I do.
I mean, hair algae at least is removable, but like when the leaves start getting spot algae or anything like that,
even hair algae, mine succumbed to hair algae.
Yuck.
So it's yeah. If you have a good looking patch of it, don't move it. Like don't move it.
And don't get too attached to it either, Zen.
Yeah, don't be.
I told her that like a year ago though.
Don't become emotionally attached to it. You know, that's a very Zen Buddhist sort of notion, you know. Attachments will make you unhappy.
And don't look at it.
Don't look at it, but yell at it every day. Apparently that's important.
Cuss it out.
That's what Zenny does. So yeah, it's a tricky one. So Dennis Angle points out pearlweed looks even better with CO2. That's true. It's a lot less leggy. It's more bushy. It does look a lot better, but it also grows so fast.
So in my plant farm, pearlweed has basically replaced the algae because it I guess I had some in there at one point and it attached itself to that rock wall, DIY rock wall that I made. And so as part of the water change routine, I'm like grabbing clumps of pearlweed growing off the rock wall because I'm not offering it up to anyone. I'm also not eradicating it at all. So like I just kind of have this little stash of pearlweed tucked back there anytime I decide I want pearlweed again.
Yeah, it's a vigorous grower. I don't grow that plant, but I have like a whole wall of Monte Carlo, because like once you have Monte Carlo in a tank, you never get rid of it. Now, but Monte Carlo, in my experience, it absolutely needs CO2. Not hard to grow, but it has to have CO2.
How's your schismatoglottis doing?
Disappointing.
Oh.
I mean, it's not dead, but like, is it doing anything? I don't know if you can see it.
It's there. It's
right
existing.
There. At the bottom. I mean, it hasn't died. Maybe it's getting too shaded, which, I mean, I need to hack back this jungle. Jesus Christ. I mean.
Yeah. That's tomorrow.
Yeah, that's tomorrow's project. So it has not done anything. Maybe it doesn't like my water. Maybe it's getting too shaded. It hasn't died. So yeah, Candy points out it looks like it's in the shaded part of the tank. The whole tank is pretty shaded right now.
Everything's pretty shady.
So maybe it will help it to thin things a little bit, and maybe it'll perk up a bit. But I don't know. It hasn't died. We'll see. We'll see what it does. I mean, it's a plant I'm not very familiar with. I haven't really seen a lot of people growing it yet. So, hair algae tacos, anyone? I mean, there's probably some nutritive value to hair algae. I mean,
it's so stringy,
I've
though.
been putting it in my smoothies.
Too stringy.
Well, I have a Vitamix blender. I mean, I could puree it.
How about cyanobacteria? It's nice and squishy, very chewable.
That's the algae I would not recommend. It stinks. It's stinky. It's nasty.
Pretty gross.
That's how you know you have cyanobacteria. If it stinks like a stagnant pond, that's cyanobacteria. Stinky.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but thank you, Vibes.
Hope I didn't miss any questions.
Yeah.
We got really behind, and I got really
We got behind, and then we got tangented, and
that happens, and that's how we have that Tom Barr stream went 2.5 hours. Like we didn't even cover all the myths that I made a list of. But I think we covered like the big ones, though. There were a few.
Got a lot out of it. Like they learned a lot. So
I did too. Like,
you know what I learned?
Rethinking like how I'm gonna approach some of my tanks. What?
You know what I learned? I learned I've been right all along.
It was a validating stream. Yeah.
It was very validating. Like I've been telling you guys really good things.
Well, Tom Barr has been trying to tell people really good things.
He's been trying. So Rebecca points out I only make my CO2 at night. It's true. I photosynthesize during the day though. So I use CO2 during the day.
Yep. If anyone wants a nice supply of oxygen, just come breathe through my mouth during the day only. Oh man.
Where do these myths come from? Reverse respiration.
See, this is why when I go on Facebook and I'm go in an aquatic in an aquatic forum group or whatever, I like hanging out in the co-op group because they don't allow toxic bullshit, which is like every other Facebook group. I mean, I know Rainbow Fish Live,
right?
You have a Gary, you got a Gary Lang problem, but other than that, it's pretty good.
If he doesn't behave, I put him in timeout. He's got to be good. I will not tolerate anything but kindness in that group. So
it feels like some of these other groups that have like hundreds of thousands of members have just been abandoned, or else they're just like, yeah, fine. Everyone just call each other names and mock each other. And, you know, maybe 1 out of 50 responses are somewhat helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, a good place you can come if you want to chat fish or ask questions or just be in a friendly, supportive environment is our Fishcord, our Discord. So if Ahmad could maybe throw a link up for that, everybody is welcome.
Link in the description too.
Yeah, it's everybody is welcome, and it's a supportive and happy environment. There's also good off-topic chat. If you're a member of this channel or Rico's channel, there's also a members only section. But you know, if you're not, that's okay too. There's still fun stuff for you too. And it's a supportive, happy environment. So join up.
So Alex says, for what it's worth, cyanobacteria was pretty much where all life came from. Yeah.
Well, at least plant life. You know, so the endosymbiosis hypothesis, which is a hypothesis that has excellent support at this point. It's that the very first life on Earth was in a bacterium-like cell, an archaebacteria. So all bacteria, not just archaebacteria, they have no nucleus and they have no organelles. So no mitochondria, no chloroplasts for plants. The endosymbiosis hypothesis is that one of those archaebacteria-like cells engulfed a cyanobacteria or a proteobacteria. The proteobacteria became something like a mitochondria, and the cyanobacteria became a chloroplast, which is what green plants use and green algae use to photosynthesize. So pretty cool. That happened a really, really long time ago. And there is a lot of good evidence supporting that. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, cyanobacteria.
Yeah,
now stay
they're
out
really
of my
cool.
tanks.
And cyanobacteria, they sequester more CO2 on Earth than the Amazon rainforest even. So they're very, very important to the health of our planet. Scotty asks, what language is she speaking? Well, there you go.
So LS Aquatics asking if we have our own Facebook channel or Discord. So the Discord link has been posted. Yeah. It's also in the description. Yeah. We don't have our Facebook groups, but Kelly, you got the Rainbow Fish Live group you're a moderator for.
Yeah. So I'm an admin on that, and everybody is welcome. You just have to answer like 3 easy questions to get in,
and be nice.
Yeah, but it's the best place to see the coolest rainbow fish. Really, there's kind of nowhere else. So, but yeah, I'm an admin for that. But Fishcord is for everybody. Fishcord is great. Mm-hmm. And it's for all fish and plants and off-topic chatter.
Yep, and you have to be nice there too, I guess.
Yeah, got to be nice there too. And people are nice. They are nice and they're supportive. So it's good.
So Jason GT says, I see people mix an acid and alkaline buffer for RO water. I just use an alkaline buffer, which is better. So probably depends on goals.
Yeah, it depends on your goal. If you mix an acid and an alkaline buffer, you get a salt. And it depends on what that salt is. I'm not always familiar with what the composition of those buffers is because I don't use them.
Whether they're phosphate-based buffers.
Yeah, and so like some of them they're made of different blends of like potassium monobasic phosphate and potassium dibasic phosphate.
That sounds like a very discus thing to do.
It is a very discus thing to do, and I wouldn't.
And I guess so. For if you have RO water and you mix an acid buffer, that's probably for some sort of like caridina that needs just bonkers low pH, or like breeding a certain fish. Like, you know, certain fish will breed in like pH 4 water or even lower. So
if you can also buffer your tank with a bicarbonate buffer,
which potassium bicarbonate,
or you could use sodium bicarbonate, because you need so very, very, very little to change your pH that it's not going to make your pH that basic. So potassium bicarbonate and sodium bicarbonate are basic. So it depends on what your goals are, what your fish are. If I had RO water, I wouldn't add any buffer. I wouldn't add any at all. Most fish are pretty adaptable. The fish I keep would be happy. And plants, they would rather have no KH. They would rather have 0 KH.
And I have definitely tested like buffer versus weak acids. Like I still have a vat of just some disgusting botanical water and
it really
pH
depends
8.1.
Yeah, it really depends what buffer you're using. And I mean, how you design a buffer's effectiveness depends on a lot of things that are a lot more complicated than we will get into in this stream. Phosphate buffers are more effective than carbonate buffers, so they change pH a lot less.
Yeah.
But I don't really care about that. I inject CO2. My pH is gonna swing a full point every day, maybe even a little bit more. It's fine. So I wouldn't add any buffer for my fish and my situation because I don't.
And you do water changes weekly, so you don't
I
have
do,
to worry about
yeah.
any kind of drift with your pH all that much. And
yeah, I mean, that said, I don't use RO water and I never have. I just deal with what comes out of my tap. I am limited somewhat in what I can grow. I accept that limitation and move on with my life because I'm not at a place in my life where I want to deal with RO water. I don't have a place to store it, and I just don't want to do it. So
yeah, I do use RO water for right now. I'm just using it for one thing specifically, and I haven't been messing around with it much. That's
but
bowl.
if I had
RO
water
water.
like I did in Iowa, though, which KH 22, I'd probably find a way to do RO water because
But
it's
then,
so.
Eventually I made a promise. I gotta do salt. So I got, RO water for that.
I mean, I was going to do salt too, and I have a gorgeous tank and I have a spot for it, but I don't know where I'd put the RO water. I mean, I'm thinking if I do it, I might just buy water to do water changes because you only change, like, for saltwater tanks, they change like 10% a month or something. Or
you could put a float valve in the actual tank and an overflow and just have the RO water drip into that.
Well, that's not, I mean, I don't know if the inhabitants I would keep would be unhappy though with the change in salinity. I don't know enough about it.
Yeah, probably.
But I would like to grow macroalgae.
Me too.
But
We're
I
gonna
would
see a
also like to
macroalgae
have some
tank
of them.
at the Clash. Usamas might want to see
Yeah,
that.
I can't wait to see that. But I would like to have some cool saltwater fish if I had it, like maybe some cool gobies, or I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of fish I really like in saltwater that I don't know much about yet. But they're so pretty. They're so pretty.
So, potassium bicarbonate source, Amazon.
Amazon. Yeah, it's the same thing as. No, it's not. Never mind. I was gonna say it's washing soda. No, that's sodium carbonate.
That's soda ash.
I
wouldn't use a carbonate. I would just use a bicarbonate if you're going to add it directly to your water anyway.
Well, and I think I like to use potassium better than sodium because plants don't really like sodium ions. Now, it is so very, very little that in this case, I don't think it would matter. Plants are going to be fine, but plants don't like sodium ions. So whenever they tell you that, like, oh, your baby brine shrimp, like when you just add it without rinsing it to the water, it's fine because your plants like the minerals. No, they don't, because while there are some other minerals in sea salt, not much. What's mostly there is sodium chloride, and plants hate sodium. They just don't like it. It's just like, have you ever taken salt and like poured it on your lawn and thought, oh, my grass really loves the minerals? Go try it and see what happens.
They used to be a form of warfare.
Yes,
salting people's farmland.
Yeah, salt the earth. It's just another one of those cases where like people are not making the connection between growing a garden and keeping a tank. I mean, plants are plants. Some things are basically the same. And plants don't like sodium. They can tolerate a little bit of it, some more than others. Like mangroves, they have evolved specific strategies to deal with a high salinity environment, or like eelgrass, but there are not many plants who can deal with salt.
Yeah, we've talked about my weird water and the cation exchange it goes through in the clay, like naturally. So basically, what my water is baking soda water when it comes out. Like
Yeah.
it's leaves behind sodium
Mm-hmm.
and bicarbonates, but
Because
it's
clay has a really
KH6, so
high,
it's not a lot.
yeah, clay has a really high cation exchange capacity. So it's exchanging calcium and magnesium for sodium. So, and it's
Yep,
not enough to hurt your plants. But the nice thing about it is like Steven never has like hard water stains or soap scum
and my
or,
hair lathers like no other when I
I
when
mean,
I use shampoo.
Steven's family has the best hair of like anyone I've ever known. His entire family has great hair. Every one of them, and it's because their water is
Yay for
very
soft water.
low GH.
Soft alkaline water, which confuses people, but
Yeah,
what it
but it
is.
gives you great hair. They're the great hair family, every one of them. So there you go. My water here is not terribly high GH, but like when I lived in Iowa, my hair did not look that good. Just didn't look that good. Rebecca suggests I keep flamboyant cuttlefish. I love cuttlefish. They are so cool.
The
But they
flamboyant ones are very bright and colorful.
so cool. What awesome organisms. They're so smart. But they don't live long. They live such short lives, like a
Hmm.
year, sometimes two, I
Oh,
think maybe. Yeah, they don't live long. They even the biggest ones, they don't live long. So, but they're so smart. So cool. So cool. So the Aquascape points out, I just add some tap water to my RO water. Excellent, excellent point. That's the best. That's a great way to do it because it's free. So
mhm.
you can, if you want your KH a little higher, maybe you have certain shrimp. I don't know. Maybe you have certain fish. Yeah, you can just mix some back in. I think Dee Dee does that.
Yeah.
She mixes it back. So it's a good
And
thing to
then
do.
injects the CO2. Let's see. Jody P. Thank you for becoming a member. And there is if you go to the members tab on channel page, there is a link to a Google form document and you can get some free plants.
Nice. Welcome, Jody. I really enjoyed seeing you around lately. It's awesome.
And they live near Mike.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Because Mike needs a friend who can take care of his tanks while he is deployed because he's deployed all the time and his wife needs a break. She has enough organisms she has to take care of. She doesn't need to take care of Mike's goddamn tanks.
Oh, so are you volunteering Jody P to go over to Mike's house?
I am. I am.
Am I above I-10 or below? Above. We're in like northern outside of Baton Rouge.
I'm also above it.
Indeed.
I'm just below I-80. Dennis Angle says, have a bushy nose breeding tank. Does wonders to keep down algae. Mixed with CO2 and it's the bomb. Yeah, they're good algae eaters. They don't like sword plants. They will rasp the
I mean, they
leaves.
don't like it. They love them.
That's true.
They absolutely adore them.
I did say that wrong. I don't like them with sword plants. So, yeah.
I don't know if it's that they do. They're probably not trying to eat the sword, but they're probably trying to eat whatever is on the sword. That's just, and they're damaging the cell walls in the process. I don't know. Maybe they think there's a bunch of wood or stuff on the sword, but like they don't actually start eating into the sword. They just kind of work their way around it until it's all messed up. It's weird.
So Jason asks, what makes a submersed only plant like Blixa not be able to grow immersed? And are there any special requirements with growing it? So both Stephen and I are growing Blixa. It needs CO2. I really think. I mean, maybe you can get away with it with no KH water. I don't know. But I think that's one that really needs CO2. It likes a good amount of light to turn pinkish. I don't know if you have any other things to add for like what to grow it.
Um, Yeah, but it's a good question. I don't know much about Blixa. I liked it and I put it in my tank, so I don't even know where it is from, what kind of
Yeah.
water it grows in naturally. But generally, like plants like this, they're going to grow in naturally very soft, low pH water that just has a lot of natural CO2 in it
Yeah.
anyway, and
So, and these
that's where it
plants
thrives.
are adapted. So they're physiological changes that a plant has to have to grow above water as opposed to below the water. So above the water, plant leaves have these special kind of cells called guard cells. And they make something called a stomata, which are pores. And those pores can open and close to let in CO2 and to keep water from going out of the plant. Okay,
Like the
because
cuticle coating or something. Is that what they
yeah,
call it?
so that's part of it. That's the other part of it. So these stomata, so when you're underwater, you are limited by CO2. When you are above water, you have all the CO2 you want. That's not a problem. But your problem is drying out. So transpiration, it's called. So
Mhm.
what plants do is that during times of water stress, they have these guard cells and they'll close up. And they'll close up at night too when they're not actively photosynthesizing. So they don't need CO2. So they don't let out excess water. So it's to prevent transpiration. Now, I don't know this is for certain with Blixa, but my guess is it doesn't have a whole lot of these stomata because it doesn't need them, right? It wants to let in
Yeah.
all the CO2. It's not trying to keep from drying out. And so the other physiological difference is a cuticle. So above ground plants, they have a waxy coating, and that's also to prevent transpiration. So in plants that can switch from submersed to immersed form, so like let's say a rotala, the leaves are very morphologically different, right? They're kind of more transparent underwater and they're more waxy and stiff above water. So part of that is the cuticle and also the stomata. And it takes some time for that switch to happen. But an obligate submersed plant, so something that has to only grow under the water, it may not be able to make that switch. So, and again, plants that can only grow above the water, so like let's say an oak tree or a corn plant, they can't make that morphological difference either. So, you know, it's just the way it's evolved. But I don't know that for certain because I'm not an expert, like per se, on the Blixa genus, right? Like I've grown them in
Yeah.
a
Do you know where they're native to? Because I have never
I
even looked it up.
I thought they
It's
were.
like,
I
that's a
thought they
pretty
were
plant.
native. Don't quote me on this, but I think they're native to like around Papua New Guinea. I don't know. Is there a Tombar unedited version? I don't know. Don't you still have the unedited
Oh
one
yeah,
up there?
just the previous episode of this stream, episode 105. It's about 2 hours 20 something minutes. It's
Yeah.
just I mean there's a lot of Planet Tank talk. I just wanted to get it to like an under an hour. I mean, if I wanted to appeal to the attention span of YouTube, it should have been like 40 seconds. But
We
I
can
wanted
make some
to.
shorts out of some of it too,
I
maybe.
was thinking about that. And
Yeah.
I mean, there
Why
are
not?
some video ideas that I can take from it too, just like the whole low light CO2 thing. Like, here's a low maintenance, low energy tank that doesn't have problems just because CO2. But yeah, I think little snippets would work. But
Yeah.
it's a good hour. It's getting decent views, and it's about 24% average view duration. So
It's pretty good for an hour long
that's
thing.
yeah.
Because some people will listen to a little bit of it and go back, and
Hopefully,
I do
yeah.
that sometimes.
It can. I mean, it's kind of dense too, so it's something to keep reference.
Yeah. But the full 2 hour one, like you get like, you know, me bitching about grad school and some other just
Yeah, just it
yeah,
kind of goes all
some
over the
chat
place.
like we do here, you know, there's some chatting.
That's why we forgot to cover some of the myths, like basic, like the low hanging fruit ones, like iron making plants red. Hopefully everyone knows that's not the case.
Hopefully,
now.
I mean, but we did a whole stream about iron.
We did.
That was a big one for me. That was Tim's fault. God damn it, Tim. God damn it, Rotala Tim. That was a tough one. So, yeah, June points out African violets would die submerged in water. Faux show. They would rot. They would rot. So, Jason says, so since Blixa needs a lot of CO2 but can't grow above water, it's probably naturally found in areas with a lot of surface agitation. So, I don't know about that, but there are natural springs that are naturally very high in CO2. So, even like 30 ppm of CO2. So, like, I don't think Blixa is from there, but a famous example is the Pantanal in Brazil.
That's just a lot of organic decomposition happening in the Pantanal.
Yeah, and what it does, and I've seen this actually happening in Wisconsin. So cool. So Wisconsin has a lot of springs too, and Wisconsin is above like a lot of limestone, and the organic acids from decay will like seep into the cracks where the limestone is, and if you have water springing out of the earth, it's naturally bubbly and enriched in CO2.
Yep.
And like when I was there was just tons and tons of watercress growing around it. So, you know, just
yeah, it's cool to see that
environment at work. But if you look at video of the Pantanal, so like Chris Luke Haupt has a lot of video of it. God, his channel is so cool. And
also below water. You ever seen footage?
Oh yeah, that's a great channel too.
Yeah, I turn that shit on mute and just watch it.
So pretty, so pretty. But yeah, it's really naturally like 30 ppm in the wild. And our tap water is not 30 ppm unless like
it's like
tap
2.
water is like this can of Spindrift. So it doesn't have much CO2 in it. But there is water on Earth naturally enriched in CO2. I mean, there are bubbling springs, you know, there's natural spring water that's naturally bubbly. You know, like I don't think like Perrier is like this now, but like OG Perrier was bottled from a spring that was naturally bubbly. So yeah.
Well, there could be CO2 in your tap water, but as soon as you turn on your faucet and it goes through that aerator and agitates and fills up your tank, it's all gone.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not enough. It's just not enough. Also, my KH is high enough that it's just, I need to inject CO2.
Yeah. And then, and the lower your KH is, because I think someone asked, and I don't know if we remember to answer it, but like having a lower buffer means it's easier to lower your pH with CO2 injection, so you don't need as much to get that same ppm level.
Candy has an answer for us where Blixa is from. I was partly right. So I said Papua New Guinea, but also China, Taiwan, Japan.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely it's
I was wondering if it was from Japan. It says Japonica, but I don't really trust just because it says Japonica that it's from.
Yeah, and there's lots of Blixas. So I have Blixa albertii too, which like I'll show you. So first of all, you can see this enormous string of Marsilea growing right here is pretty funny. I don't know if you can see it, but see how like it's really red across there? That's Blixa albertii, and that is growing really, really well.
Nice.
Doing really well. That's an awesome plant. I've also grown Blixa novi zelandii. I did some Blixa that was like Blixa red, species red or something, maybe. Anyways, they all seem to need CO2. They really need it.
I've just done the Japonica so far.
So Alex says there's species from Madagascar to New Caledonia too. So that's Australia. Yeah, I have heard there is some from Australia. So, but I am not an expert on that. A good place to get that kind of information from is Crystal Castleman's books. They are really good. I don't know why I don't own this book. It's $50.
There's a new one. There's a new pocket edition that's supposed to be pretty good. I think I need to order it.
Yeah, but I should get her big book, which is like $50, which is not.
I was going to order it from her site, but then it's like, click here to, you have to email her, and it's like, oh no, that's why I never ordered from the Wet Spot for years, because I don't want to have to email people for online orders.
I know, I get that. So Rebecca says there's a Blixa reported in Louisiana on iNaturalist. I don't know if I believe that. I mean, if there is it native?
It's in my tank. It's right 3 feet away from me.
There
Report
you go.
confirmed.
There you go. So, but Rebecca points out that it looks like an invasive risk. Yeah, at least where Steven lives, like a lot of plants are invasive risks because he lives in a place that doesn't get very cold. Where I live, I don't think it's not going to make it. It gets cold here. So Coral
people
works.
are getting on it. Yeah, so Jody has the big one, and Pet's Corner ordered this pocket one, and Scotty got it too.
Wow. So Scotty can quit bothering us about his plant identification. But no, he'll keep bothering us because you know what else other book Scotty has? He has Ted Coletti's pond book. And what does Scotty ask me questions about all the time? Things that are in that book. So
do we need a tutorial on opening books?
Here is how to open a book. Here is how to use an index. God, I feel old. Schoolwork says, Zenny, I wish there was a setting so anytime I'm behind on a live stream, it defaults to 1.75 stream. Do you really want my annoying voice at 1.75x? I don't think you do.
It's so embarrassing though, whenever you're like several minutes behind and you type a comment and it's just so out of context and irrelevant to what's being discussed, and everyone thinks you're crazy. And
especially if slow internet like me, I'm always behind. So CoralWorks does ask me, do you know what humidity the guard cells stop closing at? Is there a specific phrase I should search for to find empirical data and studies on it? It is species dependent. So, and different plants have different strategies for dealing with transpiration. It depends on what part of the world they're evolved to. So like succulents, they need different strategies to deal with water than a live oak or a swamp oak. What are your cypress that live in the swamp there? It's a different strategies. Or like some of them have different they have different they have an entirely different pathway of photosynthesis to deal with water stress. So there's two different ones. There's one called C4 photosynthesis. That's what different grasses use. So corn uses that. That's why corn is really drought tolerant. There's also crassulation acid metabolism, or CAM photosynthesis. And that is used by plants in the genus Crassulaceae, or jade plants. If you've ever grown a jade plant before, it's a succulent, very drought tolerant because it has strategies to deal with that. And so like how much, when guard cells will close or not, it depends on the species. I can't give you an answer to that. So.
Yep. A lot of individual species requirements, which is why like nutrient ratios and deficiency signs are also species specific. So you can't really make it a universal thing.
And plants have a lot of plasticity even within their species. So if they're growing in a different environment, they'll do different things. Or if they have slightly different genotypes, they do different things. Just like we are adapted to lots of different environments and will have different traits. So, people like Steven and I, who are ghostly pale, we are evolved to deal with, long winters with very little sunlight. Whereas
and then we burn.
Melanin, they have evolved different phenotypes. So it's difficult to say.
Dang. Jade plants are hedges in New Zealand.
Wow. They're really beautiful. I mean, I've seen some like in California, people growing huge ones, but I did have a really, really big one. And I lived in an apartment where the AC broke and it got up to like, I don't know, like 100 degrees for I don't know how many days. I just died. Just died. Couldn't deal. It's too much. Oh, so Sarah asked how my African violets in the biorb are doing. I need to put a video up because every single stinking one of them is blooming. It looks awesome. Nice. And I took a video and I forgot about it. And Mike was like, why don't you post it? And I'm like, I don't know. But they're doing really well.
You're never going to grow your channel if you don't post videos.
Oh my God, I'm the worst YouTuber ever. Hi,
Oak bark. Oak bark extract for fish breeding tanks.
Very tannic. Do you have any experience using it in planted tanks for the plants, not for fish? Well, so that's a tannin. It's probably going to do what most tannins do. It's going to block the light somewhat. I am not a person who uses tannins. I just don't like the look. But I think it would be fine for plants, but they're not going to get as much light. So
yeah. I've used I haven't used it for plants though. Like but I had like the black water extract.
It's not really benefiting the plants. It's kind of like not benefiting the plants because it is filtering the light because it makes your tank look like tea. But I imagine it would probably be okay. I just don't like the look of it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my jam.
So Coro wants to know what cultivar of Alternanthera renekii. I have several. I do have many. Yeah. I have Scarlet Temple. I have Pink and probably another one.
I've also had
Rosenvig.
I like that one a lot. I don't have any right now. I don't have any right now, but I have had regular. I've had mini. I've had Pink. I've had Rosenberg. So I've had a lot. My water grows Alternanthera really, really well. I have no problem growing it. That's another plant that really likes CO2, but maybe it also does well with low kH.
Probably tolerates more light. So I don't know what someone can tell me what this one is because like I just started taking them and mixing them together and
well, definitely not mini.
No, it's not.
It's pretty tall. I don't know that. I can't really tell from here. It looks like it's maybe regular Scarlet Temple.
Probably.
Super chat from Vibes. Favorite store-bought cookies? Maybe a ginger snap. Those are pretty good, but I can't really eat cinnamon. It's hard on me. I don't know. What's your favorite store-bought cookie?
Probably like the ripoff of Thin Mints, whatever brand that is.
Oh, Thin Mints are pretty good. They're not exactly store-bought. I don't
the ripoff of Thin Mints. Like there's store-bought versions. So that's why I was saying like I like Thin Mints, but there's also copies of Thin Mints at the store. I don't really
eat store-bought cookies ever. I eat cookies.
I'm not much on this.
If I make a cookie, I'll eat a cookie because I like cookies, but they're not like my junk food vice. So
I like the Milano cookies, the Pepperidge Farm Milanos. Pretty good.
I've had those Tate's chocolate chip cookies, the thin, crispy ones. Those are pretty good. I don't know. I just don't really buy cookies. But I have chocolate chip cookie dough in the freezer that I made and portioned out into little individual balls. So if I need one cookie, I can bake one cookie at a time. Because sometimes you just need one like hot, fresh chocolate chip cookie. So, because I did
make it in the microwave.
No, I'll bake them. I have a toaster oven, so I'll bake them in that. Nice. I did 21 yoga classes this month, guys, and I needed a couple cookies to get through that. So it was tough.
Let's see. Scotty says, I'll start whenever you finish. Take your time. Closer to 7, the better. Well, sorry, Scotty, but that reminds me I do have some work to do because I got to get some things sorted out before I leave PTO. So.
No. So there will be a gap between us and Scotty maybe, but Scotty's next.
And I was checking to see if Steenfot's streaming his members only, and he is not. It looks like he's going at 8 o'clock tonight instead. 8 Central.
When is
for
his
the members
baby?
only.
When is his baby due? Is this baby
January,
coming?
I think.
Okay, a little while. So, in case you haven't heard, Grand Shelby had their baby. She's cute, little Myra. She looks healthy. Looks like everyone's doing well. So that's good news. We needed some good news.
February, sorry.
February. Nice. So happy for them. That's great. So, well, cool. Thanks everyone.
Rachel wants to know about the aquatic plant book by Crystal Castleman. Just Google Crystal Castleman, ChristelKassellmann, I think.
Yeah, I think so. She's on Instagram too. She doesn't like she posts that much, but she is on Instagram. I remember the book being like $50. Like her
there's
big
different
one.
different versions
the most
of it. So.
recent, not the pocket edition, but her most recent edition of her big one. I thought it was like $50. And you can get it directly from her.
Yep, she'll sign it too.
Self-published, yeah. So it's a good book.
So yeah, probably we'll be streaming Friday from the Clash. Probably no stream Monday because we'll definitely no stream Monday. We'll be traveling next Monday. So and for all those going to the Clash, we'll see you there. But thanks everybody for being here as always. Appreciate y'all.
Can't wait to see you guys, and we'll see the rest of you in 2 weeks. So
right. Bye y'all.